got some interesting battles so far for this rotation, Jack. I think that's the way things shake out, maybe the back end of their starting rotation.
Right. The Yankees know they will see Ryu 5 days from now in the Bronx, Yankee Stadium, for opening day. After that, things get a little murky for the Blue Jays. That's where I think this team is going to have some issues this season. Their rotation is not as strong as the Yankees' rotation, and the Yankees themselves will admit that they have some question marks. But as the Yankees take the field here, guys, they've seen a lot of the Blue Jays this spring training. They're going to see a lot of them to begin the season. 6 times in the first couple of weeks of the season, they'll play the Blue Jays, a series at Yankee Stadium, and then another 3-game series on the road.
Well, we get a look at the veteran right-hander Yolis Chassin as he's going to start his warm-up tosses, and those were the numbers last year with the Braves. And we're going to take a look at our scouting report on Chassin, a 12-year veteran who has pitched for 7 clubs and has a very respectable ERA, just over 4. And like a lot of veteran pitchers, he's on a non-roster invite trying to compete for a roster spot on this club. It doesn't look like it's going to happen right now, but with all the injuries that Jack detailed in the open, you never know what can happen over the next week. And because of that, is this veteran right-hander going to be part of the Yankees, part of an alternate site? Is he going to be with another club? These are the things the last week in spring training a lot of veterans have to deal with.
Well, let's take a look at the defense that will play behind Yolis Chassin this afternoon. And it's not the A lineup that we'll see on opening day, but there's a lot of talent out there. Clint Frazier is out in left. Esteban Florial is in center. Greg Allen is out in right field. Around the infield, Gio Urshela at third. Gleyber Torres at short. Tyler Wade at second. Mike Ford is at first base this afternoon. Kyle Higashioka will do the catching. And, of course, it is Chassin on the mound. And, Jack, when we think about opportunities at the back end of the Yankees starting rotation, they may have things sort of set in their minds right now, but as Flash said, a lot can happen over the first week or two of a season.
When you sit down in a meeting, an organization like the Yankees, and General Manager Brian Cashman has all of his assistants and lieutenants around him, you look at a guy like Chassin right now as depth. No one is saying that he is going to break camp with the Yankees, but as Flash just pointed out, he's got a resume of experience. He is somebody who at some point in this season, perhaps he can help the Yankees. He starts off the game with a fastball, and Bob, I stole your play-by-play right out of the chute.
You know what? That's okay. We're a three-headed monster out here. You know that when we work together in studio. It's the same when we do play-by-play and analysis of a game. Big swing by Jonathan Davis there.
I'm glad you're fine with it, Bob, because we know Michael Kay would not be fine with that, Jack.
That was a whiff.
All over you.
That was a whiff by me. I had too many words that I wanted to spit out, and I promise I won't do that again.
No worries there. All right, so a 1-1 count to Jonathan Davis. Beautiful afternoon down in Tampa, Florida, as the Yankees wind spring training down. And Chassin misses inside, 2-1.
Well, Bob, I'm glad you mentioned the Yankees winding spring training down. This is the point of spring training for players where you just want to get it over with and get to the regular season. You know, you've been in Tampa, you've gotten all your work done, and obviously trying to stay healthy, but you have one more week to concentrate and make sure you're on top of your game for opening day on Thursday.
2-2 pitch to Davis coming up after a nice off-speed pitch from Chassin. Ground ball third base, easy one for Gio Urshela on to first, little high, but Ford has it one away. So, Flash, you mentioned the last week of spring training. We talk a lot about this. For veterans, you know, when you talk about certain times of season, you have to grind. You have to grind through that final week just because you know you're ready to go already.
Well, it's different for every player, right? And I mentioned you want to make sure you're on top of your game as you get ready for opening day. There are players in the Yankee lineup who are probably like, I'm ready to go now. There are other players that say, I need a few more at-bats to try to lock it in.
Good breaking ball to Randall Grichuk right there, strike one.
And you know, it's different for every type of player. Like we look at Aaron Boone, who's evaluating all the way to the end. You got a veteran right-hander out on the mound trying to impress not only the Yankees, but other clubs that are out there. And then you have the veterans that know they're on this team. Giancarlo Stanton, you know, Aaron Judge, and they just want to make sure they're healthy the last week and they get their swings where they want them to be.
Chassin quickly ahead 0-2 against Grichuk. And hammers a breaking ball foul, rattling it off the facade there.
That's his slider, Bob. He threw that 47% of the time last year. Obviously, he didn't pitch much with the Atlanta Braves, but that was his repertoire. Slider almost half the time, threw his sinker about a third of the time. Also throws a change, a curve, and a four-seamer.
And a fastball missing up high.
You know, Jack, I'm looking at here the pitch breakdown for Chacín, and you wonder where he's going to end up, you know, eventually at the end of camp. And we came in today not knowing if Jay Bruce was going to be on this team. We didn't know anything about Luke Voit, and I guess it just goes to the point that things can change so quickly during spring training that opportunities are there that you wouldn't have thought would have been there a couple of days ago.
All right, teams always talk about depth, and there's Aaron Boone, who made the announcement that Voit will undergo surgery on his left knee, meniscus surgery, won't do any baseball activities for 3 weeks. Boone said he'll be back considerably sooner than June. But you're right about Jay Bruce. As the Yankees lose Major League Baseball's home run leader from last year, here's Jay Bruce, who didn't know if he had a job last night, gets a call from the Yankees this morning. Suddenly he's their starting first baseman, guy with over 300 career home runs.
Nice little breaking ball, puts Grichuk away. Today's injury report brought to you by Montefiore, doing more. And you take a look at that. MRI on his left knee revealed a partial meniscus tear, so 3 weeks without baseball activity. And Jack, I think you alluded to this. He was asked, what's a timetable, maybe June or something like that? He thought it would be faster, right?
Aaron Boone said considerably sooner than June. Oddly enough, now everyone is different and all of our knees are different, but Jay Bruce, the player who is replacing Voit, had meniscus surgery in 2014. He missed 19 days. He played on May 4th. He was back on May 23rd. I think even the Yankees are telling you that Voit is not going to be back that quickly because no baseball activities for 3 weeks.
Good low fastball inside part of the plate, and he's quickly ahead 0-2. Been a good spring for Bo Bichette, hitting at a 300 clip, 5 home runs. Ground ball right to Tyler Wade at second. And Chacín, a 15-pitch inning. 1-2-3 as we head to the bottom of the first. First hacks for the Yanks coming up.
Starting lineup. Batting first, Tyler Wade. Batting second, happy Gleyber Day, Gleyber Torres. Batting third, Gio Urshela, the most happy fella. Batting fourth, Clint Frazier. Batting fifth, Mike Ford. Batting sixth, Kyle Higashioka, the home run stroker. Batting seventh, Chris Gittins. Batting eighth, Estevan L'Oreal. And batting ninth, Greg Allen. Thank you, Yankee fans. This was today's starting lineup. Let's go, Yankees!
Chris Callow channeling his inner John Sterling. That was a Yankees fan spotlight. To get your shot in the spotlight, make sure to post your videos to your favorite social media platform using the hashtag Yankees Fan Spotlight. So we go from our junior lineup correspondent, Chris Callow, to our senior pitching analyst, John Flaherty.
I don't know if I could follow that act up from Chris. That was outstanding. The Yankees going to face the left-hander, young left-hander, Anthony Kay. And we'll take a look at Anthony Kay and our scouting report and some of the numbers from last year. Pitched 13 games, the ERA up at 5.14. And we'll give you a little scouting report. He was a first rounder in 2016 by the Mets out of the University of Connecticut. And sometimes injuries mean opportunity. We've already talked about that already. Robbie Ray is hurt. Pearson is hurt. Some of the pitchers for the Blue Jays, so there might be an opportunity. He needs to do a better job with the 14 walks and 21 innings.
Wade looking at a bunt opportunity, working Kay off the mound and almost gets her. Beat him by about a step.
Bob, even though he was out, I like that play by Wade. Spring training is the time to test things that you might do during the season. I will say this, though, as he crossed the base, tell me, guys, if you think that something in the lower half of his body there, tripped over the base, and he kind of is walking a little gingerly back to the dugout.
This is a manager's nightmare right here. You get to the last week of spring training, you got a guy busting it down the line and comes across the bag. He's nodding like he's okay, but I'm sure the coaching staff will check.
Looked like his right toe may have tipped the front of the bag. Well, here's Gleyber Torres. Flash, how important is it for Gleyber that not only is DJ LeMahieu back, but they've really tried to form this bond between the shortstop and the veteran second baseman?
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, last year, obviously, Gleyber, didn't have the best year defensively. It didn't have anything to do with DJ LeMahieu in that combination. But I think if you think about some of the greatest double play combos through the history of baseball, guys that get along, guys that have played together a long time, Alan Trammell, Lou Whitaker. So the more they can get out there together and be familiar with each other, the better.
Bob, when I heard Gleyber Torres talk about wanting to shadow DJ LeMahieu, I just thought to myself, brilliant. Because Flash can speak to this. You learn a lot in baseball by osmosis. David Cohn told me a story about being a young Met pitcher, being in the dugout, watching Ron Darling struggle with his splitter.
And Gleyber gets into that one out to left field, and that one is off the base of the wall. Gleyber Torres will move into second with a one-out double.
No struggle on that swing. No struggle with that pitch as Gleyber Torres comes close to sending one out of Steinbrenner Field. One more look at it. It's a fastball inside. Gleyber keeping an eye on it. Flash kept the hands in recognition of that pitch and ends up with the double.
Yeah, this is one of those fastballs in that just got in on him just a little bit. He knew he didn't get it all, but in spring training with the direction of the wind, do you get it up in a wind gust? Maybe it gets out, but Gleyber, I think, most importantly, has had a healthy spring, looks good in the field and swinging the bat. Plenty of production.
Brings up Gio Urshela. By the way, it was interesting. The last two-pitch sequence to Gleyber was a fastball that just missed up and away. He laid off that one, but then the very next pitch, Kay got it just a little too inside. Gleyber recognized it and knocked it out to left for a double. And Urshela hammers that breaking ball foul.
I have to close out my Cone splitter story. Said Ron Darling early in his career, he would watch him first, second, third inning, didn't have his splitter, kept throwing it, stuck with it. And then by the fourth, fifth, sixth inning, that pitch was getting all of his outs. Cone said he learned by watching Darling, don't give up on your pitches. Gleyber can learn from DJ. Whatever those things are that help make DJ great, Gleyber can learn from him.
I think the biggest thing, guys, for young players when you burst onto the scene of the major leagues and you have all this success, it's all exciting, right? And you think you're going to be able to do that every year. It just doesn't work at this level. But what does work at this level is a guy like DJ LeMahieu and the way he goes about his business and the way he goes about his routine. And I think, Jack, to your point, that's what Gleyber can pick up from DJ just by watching. What time does he get to the ballpark? What's his routine to get ready for a big league game at 7 o'clock? To get your work in, but also to conserve energy so that you have enough to get through 162 games and hopefully postseason play.
Flash, I've got to think as a young player, you look at a veteran and you say, I never would have thought to do that. You've probably done that a few times in your career.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing for young players is to just pay attention to what the veteran guys are doing and how they carry themselves. And like I said, it's a game where it's all about your routine day in and day out. And I hate to say, it's almost like you're a zombie when you show up at the ballpark, but you show up at the same time. You do the same thing. You get to the cage early, you get to the training room, and then you get ready for 7 o'clock and you let it fly.
And a little breaking ball outside part of the plate, and Gio Urshela goes down looking. Let's take a look at the defense. Behind Anthony Kay, it's Lourdes Gurriel Jr. in left, Randall Grichuk in center, and Jonathan Davis out in right. Around the infield, Espinal, Bichette, Panik, and Tellez, and Alejandro Kirk is doing the catching. 2 away here, bottom of the first, and it brings up Clint Frazier, and he said something, Flash, to your point about players, young players making it. You think this is it? He said people talk about getting there is the hard part. He goes, staying there is the hard part. And he's a guy who knows it because he's been sent down a few times where he's been major league ready, but there just wasn't a spot for him.
Yeah, I think Clint came into this spring obviously knowing that he was going to be the starting left fielder, but also knowing that you're not the starting left fielder guaranteed if you're not producing. So it's a great opportunity for him. You hope he doesn't try to do too much. Just, again, find that good routine that works for you. You had a productive year last year. The numbers were outstanding, both offensively and defensively. So just confidence in yourself. Know that you have this opportunity. Take advantage of it.
Looking at a 1-1 pitch from Kay, and fouls that one off. And Jack, how much do you think him being a Gold Glove finalist last year was a shot of confidence for him?
I think it's a big boost of confidence. I think coming into spring training knowing that left field is his is an even bigger boost of confidence. I think we're going to see Clint Frazier excel this season. He talked recently about wanting to get himself on the All-Star ballot, wanting to be able to play in that marquee event.
Frazier able to check his swing.
Did you find that interesting? Because I found it interesting. I want to get on the All-Star ballot.
That's what was interesting about it, Flash. And one more look at that. I think he did check his swing. I think he did hold back. Right, get on the All-Star ballot. I think he probably meant become an All-Star.
Become an All-Star.
I think getting on the ballot is not exactly as important as becoming an All-Star, obviously.
Ground ball, third base. And Espinal on to first, and that will do it here in the bottom of the first. Gleyber Torres, a one-out double, but he is stranded at second. We'll take it to the top of the second. It is phenomenal technology. We're glad you can watch Yankees games on Yes. Brooklyn Nets games. NYCFC will be coming up. Pre- and post-game shows. Just go to the app. All sorts of great content. About anything we have on Yes, you can find on the app right at your fingertips. Ulysse Chassin will face the 4, 5, 6 hitters in the Blue Jays lineup, starting with Teoscar Hernandez, the DH. Gets good wood on that one out to left, but Frazier tracks it down. Quickly one away.
Bob, we've talked a lot about Chassin and who is he and who do the Yankees think he can be. This is what he wants to tell people that he is. As recently as 2018, how about these numbers? 15-8. 3.5 ERA, and this is what jumped out at me. Threw 192 innings, but he made 35 starts. Guys don't start 35 times in a season. That's a rarity. The last pitcher to do it before him, David Price in 2016. Before that, 2010, Dan Herron and Carpenter. There's a nice play by Chassin. And then one other pitcher that did it, CC Sabathia in 2008. And remember the circumstances for why he did it. He was with Cleveland, went to Milwaukee, helped them make a postseason dash, and started a bunch. And here's Chassin again. Nice play, quick reflexes. He's durable is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. He's not only athletic, making that play, he's durable. He's looking for the opportunity. We've already pointed out it is unlikely to be at the start of the season with the Yankees. He has an opt-out in his contract too. Will he be a guy who would be willing to go to an alt site and wait for his chance?
2 away, it's Lourdes Gurriel Jr. So 35 or more starts in a season. This is what Jack mentioned. Flash, this year, with all of the potential limitations after last year, how many starts should a starting pitcher make? Which we're going to get your thoughts on after this, because that was a quick 1-2-3 inning for Chassin. 3 up, 3 down for the Blue Jays. We'll take it to the bottom of the second here on Yes. Both games will be televised on Yes Network with Joe Tollison and our man Ian Joy. So look forward to that. And again, you can also get that streaming on the new Yes app as we head to the bottom of the second inning here. And Mike Ford at the plate, a big swing and a miss against Anthony Kay. And as Kay fights for a spot in that rotation for Toronto, Flash, I want to revisit my question to you just before we left at the previous half inning. How many starts realistically could starters make this year?
Line shot right back up the middle for Ford. But Bob, we've worked together 15 years, right? And I don't think I've ever not answered a question that you have asked me. But I'm not going to put a number on this, because I think this year is going to be so different with these starting pitchers and all of the innings that, you know, when you hear somebody say, I want to make 35 starts, of course you do. But I think this year is going to be different, where maybe a start's going to be skipped. Maybe you're going to get a couple of extra days to keep the innings down. So I think every pitcher this year, except maybe Garrett Cole, should have the mindset, I'm going to go out there and give it as much as I have, every start I have, and not worry about how many innings you're going to end up with.
Here's Kyle Higashioka. So you said you weren't going to answer it, but that was an answer. So was that a non-answer answer?
That wasn't a number answer, like 35, 22, you know, things like that.
I'll guess 32 for Garrett Cole, and I'll go question mark for everyone else, because I think a guy like Cole, you're banking on him for 200 innings. He's your ace. He's so meticulous. He's so ready. that you know he'll be prepared because he's always prepared. I think when you're dealing with younger pitchers, Herman coming off that suspension, hasn't pitched in over a year. He talked about 150 innings. I think we have to see if you can get to that point. Jordan Montgomery is another young pitcher. He's looked terrific in spring training, but how many innings are you willing to go with a young pitcher like that? And Tyone and Kluber are coming off injuries. So it really is a tough question to answer.
Yeah, I guess my point is, like, even with a guy like Herman that says 150 innings, well, why not more? I mean,
right.
You know, like, I just don't think you could put a number like a goal or an end game. Just kind of take it start to start, see how long you can go. There are going to be times when a pitching coach and a manager are going to back you down. And it's just all going to be part of 2021.
And I think it's a progression, right? You're going to look at June and see how Herman feels, and then July, and then maybe Severino's back at that point. Yep. You put him in the mix as well. Higashioka popping that one up just in fair territory, and Tellez drops the ball. So they'll get the force out at second. There's really nothing that Ford could do there.
Flesh, isn't that the catcher's ball?
Well, there's so many thoughts that went through my mind. You can see the catcher putting away the mask. The first baseman, Tellez, comes in, and I'm thinking, great job by the first baseman to take over. It's a much easier play for him, but whenever you're dealing with Florida sun and high sky in spring training, it's going to be a tough play to make. Obviously, they got the out, but catching pop-ups during spring training is no fun.
Here is Chris Gittens, the DH this afternoon for the Yankees. First pitch swinging, just 18 at-bats he's collected in spring, but 3 home runs.
Bob, back to the pitching conundrum. One more second, and I think it's going to be a story we tell all season long. Our colleague Buck Showalter, former Major League manager, a 3-time manager of the year, he talked in the offseason about how all season long that is going to be the theme that these teams are trying to figure out. How do I get those 1,400 or 1,500 innings that you need from a staff throughout a year? And I think all of these teams, it's an evolving answer. No one knows what the answer is right now.
And by the way, speaking of innings counts, I should have mentioned this from the outset. Today's game scheduled to be an 8-inning game rather, at George M. Steinbrenner Field, in agreement between the Blue Jays and the Yankees.
There's a lot going on differently in this game. 8-inning game. You have a guy like Mike Ford, who was sent down earlier in camp. He's back up to play this game. Picks up a base hit, so a lot of the regulars getting some time off, and you know, a right-hander out on the mound is probably not going to be part of your rotation. So this is a Saturday afternoon game that doesn't really feel like, obviously, your opening day lineup.
And you're trying to keep a lot of the big boys healthy, get them to the starting line on April 1st as Gittens draws a walk. So it'll be first and second with 1 away. By the way, just back to a point about Ford and that at bat, lefty on lefty, K with a good fastball. And Jack, I know you've talked about talking to his college coach a lot and how much he grew as a hitter in college. Probably was good lefty or righty when he got to school.
Yeah, Mike Ford, one thing he has done as a Yankee, and the numbers haven't always moved in the way that he has wanted them to, he usually gives you a quality at bat. He's disciplined up there. He has great plate discipline. He swings at strikes, and he didn't seem to be bothered by the fact that that was a lefty at all there. And he talked to lefties like Paul O'Neill in terms of what do you need to do against a lefty. You've got to keep that front shoulder in. You've got to keep that right shoulder in, especially against somebody like Kay, who's going for the swing and miss with that curveball. That's the pitch that he wants to get you to reach out for. You got to protect against the fastball inside and make sure that he's not going to throw that breaking pitch away.
Well, here's Estevan Florial. Again, you notice, to Jack's point, a lot of these guys, or Flash's point, have been optioned already, but they're back playing in this game. Florial is one of those. Trying to get his regular reps in after not really playing last season, and he hammers that one right off the top of the wall in right field. Higashioka moving up a base, everybody moving up, so it'll be bases loaded with 1 away, and Florial just hit that ball so hard it didn't allow Higashioka to score from second.
Well, it feels like we've seen Florial at big league spring training for years, and he always shows you the potential that the Yankees are excited about. He gets a breaking ball out over the plate. It doesn't do much, and he hammers it off the wall in right field. That's going to end up being a long single But that's why the Yankees like this kid. He can really swing the bat, has plenty of power and speed, but it just seems like he's never graduated to the next level as a prospect.
Yeah, talking to Kevin Reese, the Yankees director of player personnel, earlier this spring about Florial, he said what you just said, Flash. There have been some injuries that have slowed him down. He's had a lot of swing and miss in his game. You look at his numbers, and there's a lot of strikeouts in there. But what Reese did like was the way that Florial performed at the Alt site last year. He said that he showed the ability to power up like he did right there. And the athleticism just jumps off the charts for you. I mean, this is a guy who can range in the outfield, who can go first to third as quickly as anyone on that Yankee roster. So you need that, the ability to hit breaking pitches and to have a consistent at bat. You need that to catch up with some of his other attributes.
That came off the bat at 105.5 miles per hour. Courtesy of James Smythe in our research department. Came missing to Greg Allen, the number 9 hitter this afternoon for the Yanks. A homer in 16 games last season with Cleveland and San Diego. And an RBI opportunity here as he looks at strike one.
Bob, more from Reese on Florial. He said a lot of our focus with Florial has been on making good swing decisions. Hey, you're going to strike out every once in a while, but let's try to get into good counts, get yourself into good counts, and then do some damage. You lay off a certain breaking pitch, you're going to give yourself more consistent at-bats. 23 years old, still a youngster in the baseball world. We've heard his name for so many years that you would think that he's older than that, but he's still a kid.
Two-one pitch to Greg Allen. And a swing and a miss. Boy, that breaking ball of K's is good. Really gets him probably thinking fastball, and then there's really nothing they can do with it. He's about a strikeout per inning guy.
Let's see if Greg Allen can shorten it up a little bit here and try to put a ball in play with only one out, bases loaded. An opportunity here for some situational hitting, maybe get a ball up in the air to center field, sacrifice fly as the worst case scenario. You got to put the ball in play.
Bases loaded, one away, and a 2-2 pitch. K missing up. The count goes full. Leadoff hitter Tyler Wade awaits on deck. Payoff pitch. Allen lifting that one out to left field. Just died a little bit, and the throw home from Gurriel is going to hold Higashioka at third. So a lazy little fly ball to left field, and good enough to keep Higashioka from scoring. So two away with the bases loaded as the Yankees flip the order and go back to Tyler Wade at the top. Leading off the bottom of the first, Wade tried to bunt his way on. It was about a step away from doing that, but the pitcher Anthony Kay able to get him at first.
Wade had some interesting comments this spring about how the Yankees have told him in his career that there's nothing negative about being a utility player. Mentioned guys like Ben Zobrist, Brock Holt. Be one of those guys who a manager can rely on in multiple positions. Make yourself that much more valuable. And Wade said he has embraced that, and you see that right there. 6 different positions he's played with the Yankees.
Quickly behind 0-2.
Talk about that Yankee bench. We know Jay Bruce is making the team. He's going to be the starting first baseman. Aaron Boone also said Mike Tauchman is going to make this team. Higashioka and Gardner are on that bench. Got to think Wade is probably on that bench too.
And he's disappointed he missed that one with a fastball down the middle, lifts it out to center field, and that'll do it. So the Yankees leave the bases loaded in the bottom of the second, and we'll take it to the top of the third. And Yolis Chacin, who has 6 up, 6 down, will face the 7, 8, 9 hitters And it starts with the catcher, Alejandro Kirk.
Kirk's listed last year, Bob, at 5'8", 265. But he talked about coming into spring training and said he lost some weight. And he didn't identify or say exactly how much, but I think he's telling the truth. I think, like Vladdy Guerrero, he dropped some pounds. But what you have to like about this guy is that he is up there to mash. He's not looking to take pitches. He had 25 plate appearances at the major league level last year. He walked once. He wants to swing the bat.
1-2 pitch and a chopper foul.
You know, it's funny when I watch Chacín out on the mound and I start thinking about guys that he reminds me of, or maybe pitchers that I have caught in the past. You see the top 5 prospects for the Blue Jays. Chacín reminds me of Aaron Small back in 2005. And you look at his stuff, you know, it's 90, 91 with the fastball, but good breaking ball. Can throw strikes, good sinker right there at 93, picks up another strikeout. But again, guys, it's that veteran that you know if he gets a shot, he's not going to light up a radar gun, but you know he's going to throw strikes. Good movement down, good slider for a strike. He fields his position and he works fast. I mean, that plays at the major league level with any club.
And does it help a guy, Jack, when we live in an era of spin rates and four-seam fastballs up in the zone, that he's, as you mentioned, heavy on the sinker and slider?
It absolutely helps, I think, that he's got the 4-pitch mix. He's going to throw sinker slider most of the time, but he can work in the 4-seamer and the changeup. And to Flash's point, he's a veteran. He's around the zone. And you know what I'm loving about today also? The rhythm.
Absolutely.
Look at how quickly he's right back on the mound. This is a guy who's telling the hitters, I'm ready to face you. I've got my pitch sequence in my mind. I'm ready to get you out. Now, Flash, I do have to remind you of one thing, though. You dropped an Aaron Small there. Aaron Small was 10-0 that year. 10-0. You're throwing some big comparisons out there.
And I'm not saying that that's what this guy's going to do. I mean, obviously the Yankees would love that, but I think of it from Higashioka's perspective behind the plate. And the one thing about Aaron Small, when the conversation came up about who we should bring up from the minor leagues, and the conversation was about Aaron because he could throw strikes with any pitch. His velocity wasn't great. And I remember Joe Girardi was the bench coach, and he said, but he's not throwing hard down in AAA. And Mike Borzello and myself, the bullpen catcher, we said, who cares? He throws strikes. He throws breaking balls for strikes. He works fast, and he gave us a big boost when he came up from the minor leagues.
By the way, this is the veteran Joe Panik, a non-roster invitee this spring for the Jays, but they announced yesterday that he made the team, and he's by trade a second baseman, but he's done a little work at third and short as well. Again, speaking to the versatility that Jack was talking about. How do you extend your career and help a young team? Fill in on the diamond anywhere you can. So Chacín missing there with a 1-out walk to Panik. And that brings up the number 9 hitter, Santiago Espinal.
Bob, I remember covering Aaron Small, and Flash just talked about him. He was 10-0 with a 3.20 ERA that season, and you could not have found someone who was relishing that and enjoying that more. Now, anybody would enjoy being 10-0. I get it. But he was a soft-spoken, humble, quiet guy who suddenly was thrust into the spotlight. It was kind of almost a Joe Hardy moment. Here you go, Aaron. Take over the New York spotlight. And he had that wonderful moment or moments in the sun.
The ball gets away from Higashioka. That allows Panik to go to second.
Cross up there, Flash?
No, I think it was a slider that backed up a little bit, and by that I mean it's supposed to dive down and away to the right-handed batter, but sometimes a pitcher gets underneath it and we'll watch it again and it kind of backs up and in, and I think that fooled Higashioka behind the plate. Be a disappointing pass ball there, but it happens with those backup sliders sometimes.
So now an RBI opportunity for Espinal, who, by the way, has 10 hits and 28 at bats this spring. So he's had a very good spring and opened some eyes for the Blue Jays. Good block by Higashioka.
Boy, you see him block a baseball in the dirt and your thoughts go immediately back to the postseason last year, especially that Jordan Montgomery start. I mean, this is textbook right here. You get that right knee out, use a chest protector to deaden the ball right in front of you. That's perfect.
Chacin answers that with a fastball, and the count's 3-1.
And again, a 3-1 count. Most hitters are expecting fastball, but if you're the right-hander and Higashioka behind the plate, you can throw a breaking ball for a strike here. He's done it the first couple of innings.
And he moves the count back to 3-2. By the way, I should mention this for Espinal because not sure how long he's going to be in the game. Been doing research on him. Little Brooklyn Nets crossover. His favorite player growing up was Kyrie Irving. Feel like I should read a Nets promo right now. One away, man on second. 3-2 pitch to Espinal. Oh, Mike Ford right over the railing. By what we were seeing, it looked like he might go into the dugout of the stands, and he just reaches out and gets that ball for out number 2.
The biggest thing on a play like this is knowing where that fence is and just kind of leans over and makes a nice play.
Chacin done after 38 pitches with 2 outs here on the top of the third. See you back here after this. The new pitcher in for the Yankees, making his 8th appearance this spring as he faces the leadoff hitter, Jonathan Davis, with a man on second. So, Flash, what is this a learning moment for the Yankees to try and figure out how he does with a runner in scoring position coming in?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know if it was a pitch count thing with Chacin, but he comes in obviously trying to work his way out of a little bit of trouble and strand a runner at second base. We saw his numbers last year with the Rangers. ERA was elevated a little bit, but manager Aaron Boone talked about it earlier, evaluating all the way to the last pitch of spring training.
Davis grounded to third in his first at bat. 1-1 pitch. Good breaking ball on the outside part of the plate from Garcia for strike 2.
Garcia 34. He throws that slider that we just saw about 25% of the time. Also throws a split, 4-seamer and a 2-seamer. 34 years old, signed a minor league deal with the Yankees. He looms as minor league depth for them right now.
And he throws it again, and 4 pitches, and that is it for Jonathan Davis. So nice work there by Garcia to strand the runner at second. We head to the bottom of the third, and then we'll have all the action right here on Yes and streaming on the Yes app. Gleyber Torres, of course, expected to be in that starting lineup. And again, the studio crew takeover today. Bob Lorenz, John Flaherty, and Jack Curry with you on this Saturday afternoon. And we're doing it. This is our final rep, right? We'll be hosting that pregame coverage starting at 11:30. So we do what, 2.5, 3 hours today. We'll be doing an hour and a half pregame coverage, have all the pageantry, player introductions, etc. How you feeling about your swings in the cage right now, Flash?
Well,
Good?
I'm glad that you just read that little promo because I didn't realize we were doing a 90-minute pregame show. So it might have been you and Jack for 90, and I might have came in for the last hour.
Oh, okay.
We got Marakovitz, don't forget.
Yep.
We got Marakovitz as well, so she's going. Meredith will also be part of that pregame coverage. 90 minutes, Flash. We're ready to go. 5 days away.
Gleyber Torres gets underneath one and lifts it out to left, and that ball keeps traveling, and gone. Gleyber Torres with some elevation out to left field, and he gets the Yankees on the board with a solo home run.
Spring training, the best time of the year when you get underneath the fly ball and you know you didn't hit it your best, but you get a little help from the wind. And Gleyber Torres will take that right into opening day. Another look at the swing. Gets underneath it just a little bit. You can tell by his reaction, I didn't get it, but in spring training you never know, as that ball just drifts right off of the top of the wall and makes its way out.
I thought Gurriel Jr. thought he had it. So Gleyber gets the Yanks on the board. And that brings up Gio Urshela. It's Torres, Urshela, and Frazier in this inning. And Jack, those three again if everything stays according to plan, will be in the opening day lineup on Thursday.
Yeah, one more look at that reaction that Flash talked about. You don't slam your bat if you think that you got this home run. He did not think that he got that one. Flash detailed it perfectly, gets it up in the wind, and gets that spring training home run.
Well, players know right away with the swing and the contact and how it feels in your hand if you got it. Obviously didn't, but ends up with a home run.
Espinal on to first, one away.
You know, guys, I mentioned which way the wind was blowing in spring training because in 2003, when I was a non-roster invite and I was trying to make the Yankees, the first thing I looked at every stadium, which way is the wind blowing? If I could get one up in the air to left field, I have a chance to do some damage. And obviously, a little bit of help for Gleyber with that wind blowing out the left.
With one away, here's Clint Frazier. Frazier grounding out to third in his first at bat.
Frazier was asked earlier this spring about goals, and he started out not wanting to give numbers, not wanting to give stats, but then he pointed out, and I think this is kind of neat, very symmetrically his career has been 162 games, so an exact full season. 24 homers, 82 runs batted in, and an OPS over 800. He said he thinks he can exceed those numbers, and if he gets 500 at-bats and stays healthy, I think he's right.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt. If you talk about those numbers, that was over a couple of years being sent up and down. So if he can stay healthy and get the at-bats day in and day out, you would expect the numbers to be better.
That one in on the hands, and Frazier grounding out for out number 2.
Flash, when you played, would you know on a day-to-day basis? Now they put your numbers. We're showing it right here. They put your numbers up on the scoreboard. But would you know you were 10 for your last 28 or 2 for your last 15? Did you keep a close track on what your numbers were
during the season?
Yes.
No, unless you got off to a terrible start. And you knew, like, I'm like 2 for 15. Obviously, that's not going to be some good numbers. As Ford, another solid base hit. But if you went through something like that in the middle of the year, Jack, and you've gotten off to a decent start, I remember one day we're in Cleveland and I'm having my breakfast, and there's the who's hot and who's not list up on SportsCenter and ESPN, and I'm having my breakfast, and there I am, John Flaherty, who's not, and I had no idea. I was like, oh, I haven't been getting too many hits, but I feel pretty good, and I was in some sort of a slump. To your point, I didn't even realize it.
2-out base hit for Mike Ford. And Anthony Kay facing Kyle Higashioka.
We mentioned it earlier. Ford has options. We know he was optioned out, but this has to feel good for him today to come in against a tough lefty in Kay and hang in there. And as Flash has detailed, I mean, 2 bullet base hits right up the middle. What do you want to do as a hitter? Hit the ball right up the middle. And that's what Ford has shown today.
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out for Mike Ford, right? I mean, it is such a feel-good story. All the years in the minor leagues, came up to the major leagues and did so well, and last year didn't go great. Now he's going to find himself back down in the minor leagues, having to fight his way back. The good news, he's on the 40-man roster. Another base hit. Higashioka right back up the middle. So if there is a need and he's playing well, it'll be an easy move to make.
So 2-out base hits for Ford and Higashioka. Allows Chris Gittins to get a chance to do some damage. 3 home runs so far this spring, 7 runs batted in. He absolutely destroys one out to left, but it hooks foul.
Well, we saw the numbers for Gittins this spring with the 3 home runs, but when this man steps into the batter's box, obviously a big man, but just the way he has the bat in his hands, he's kind of chewing on the gum, waving the wood. He just looks like a hitter even before he swings the bat.
Flash, he played at Double-A in 2019, hit 23 homers. There are the numbers right there. Obviously, last year, no minor league season. He presumably would have played at Triple-A. But the facts are the facts. So he hasn't played above Double-A. He's 27 years old. He's on a team with a lot of powerful players and hitters. The way you just detailed it, the power is obviously there. What's the advice for a guy like Chris Gittens? Just keep on keeping on. Just keep doing what you're doing and wait for that opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, you know that your opportunity might not be with the club that you are a part of right now, but there are 29 other teams out there that are watching every at bat, every swing, and if you keep putting up power numbers, especially in today's game, right? It's all home runs and power, and you're going to find a job somewhere. It just might not be in New York.
Good pitch recognition as well in this at bat for Gittens, who's ahead in the count 3-1. Kay takes a little off that one and gets it across for a strike. 3-2. Runners at first and second, 2 away here in the bottom of the third. Yanks trying to cash in and add to their 1-0 lead. And Gittens looks at ball 4, so 2 straight walks in this game for Chris Gittens. That loads the bases. Brings up Estevan Florial. Kay is at 63 pitches in this game. They'll try to work their way through this inning.
It's like pitching coach Pete Walker out on the mound, and they're not taking him out, Bob. They like to see him get through this, and I think this is exactly what you want to do with a young pitcher. Don't pull the ripcord. Let's see you get through this. Sure, it's a spring training game, but we're going to need you to get some Yankees out during the regular season. Let's see if you can do it right here.
Well, you got to believe stretching them out a little bit too, right, Jack? I mentioned in the pitcher scouting report, Robbie Ray has a bruised elbow. Pearson's hurt, so there might be an opportunity for this young left-hander, and you get that pitch count up where if you need him to start a game the first week of the season, he'll be ready to go.
So I've mentioned Kevin Reese, Bob, a few times, the Yankees director of player personnel, and when he talked about the alt site with Estevan Florial, he said they tried to match players up in situations just like this. So if Florial was coming up in a hitting situation, they'd say, let's get a lefty in there, because they had so many players down there. So Florial did this all last season at alt camp, the alt site. Now he's trying to do it in a spring training game.
Nearly homered in his first at bat off the top of the wall and right. He'll try to get Goodwood on the ball again behind in the count 0-1. Big opportunity for the Yanks here in the bottom of the third with the bases loaded and 2 away. There's that great slider once again from Anthony Kay, and gets him ahead 1-2. Ooh, Kay thought he had it, wanted it outside part of the plate. But home plate umpire Roberto Ortiz wasn't buying it.
You can also look at the catcher Kirk and his reaction. He felt like it was a strike as well. They don't get the call.
Two-two pitch. Florial right off Anthony Kay. That's going to score a run. Kay on to first and wide. So Florial able to cash in. And the Yankees lead it 2-0.
Well, and a nice adjustment there from Florial against the left-hander Kay. able to stay in there. He swung through a good breaking ball early and pulled off a little bit here. He just stays right back up the middle, deflects off of Kay, and that's going to be an infield base hit and an RBI. But good two-strike hitting from Florial, going right back up the box.
And Tellez did a nice job keeping that ball in front of him, so another run wouldn't score. We'll step aside for just a moment as the Jays make back at George M. Steinbrenner Field. Yankees up 2-0 here with the bases loaded, bottom of the third and 2 away. Bases loaded situation. That's something that our guest right now loves. He just loves to hit. Doesn't matter. It's Giancarlo Stanton. He's joining us. And Giancarlo, thanks for the time. I just want to note, you're obviously not in the starting lineup today, but for our viewers and Yankees fans, what would your day of work have been like today?
Today, I went out to practice and played catch, moved around a little bit. Then I came in and did a workout, got some body work done, and then some stretching, and come out and see what the boys are doing.
Hey, Giancarlo, thanks for joining us. I'm impressed as a veteran player that you're hanging around here when you're not in the lineup and watching your boys. And, you know, I was talking before about how I always wanted to be locked in the last week of spring training, getting ready for opening day with my swing. Where do you feel like your swing is at right now? Are you ready to go, or do you need a few more at-bats?
I'm ready to go. I like where my timing is and my recognition right now, so I'm ready to go.
Giancarlo, some news today on the injury front for the Yankees. Luke Voigt's going to need surgery on his left knee, meniscus surgery. Obviously, your team has depth, but he led the major leagues in home runs last season. He's a big part of that lineup. How does the team rally around knowing that they're not going to have Luke?
Yeah, that's a big blow, and unfortunate. He's been working his butt off all spring, and like he always does. So you never want to see that in the last couple of days leading into the season. But the positive to it is it shouldn't take too long. You know, maybe 2 months or whatever he needs. But we'll have him for the second half, and you know, usually that's when you need that extra push, and we'll need it for sure.
Giancarlo, you always have a captive audience when you talk, but you have one right to your left with Gleyber Torres. He seems to be very interested in what you're saying.
Yeah, he's
he's
too busy hitting balls off the wall today. You know, he's got to find something else to do. It's too easy for him.
You know what? He gave up a little on that home run. He slammed his bat down, and that ball got caught in the wind. It just kept flying.
Yep. Yeah, you never know. That's why you always got to check the flagpole, see what it's doing out there.
Flash, that's what you said.
Absolutely. I made a living, Giancarlo, hitting spring training home runs, just playing the wind a little bit.
That's right.
You just get the bat head out a little bit. But, you know, how you feeling? You healthy? I mean, we saw what you did last year in the postseason. It was so exciting that if you're healthy, it's going to be a fun and productive year for you. Yeah,
I feel good. I'm bouncing back well. I like my program that I'm on right now. So I just got to keep it rolling and get it ready for the season. So my body feels great.
Giancarlo, when you look at your starting rotation, obviously Garrett Cole at the top of the rotation is an ace, one of the best pitchers in baseball. Kluber, Taillon, Montgomery, Herman, Garcia is a reinforcement, even though they just sent him down. What kind of optimism do you have about what that rotation can provide?
They're going to be great for us. Cole holding it down front and center, and you know, the guy stacking up behind him. And also, speaking of second half pushes, we'll have Sevy coming back too, so that'll be another good anchor for us. Go get him, Glave. And yeah, they're all going to be fun to watch.
Giancarlo, Flash asked you about the injuries, and I have to think that there's nothing more agonizing or frustrating than being a player who plays at such a high level as you do and not being able to play. I mean, 41 regular season games across the last 2 seasons. How did you deal with that mentally, not being able to be out there what you do best?
It's miserable, to be honest. It's some of those days you need that extra push of staying positive, but there's nothing really you can do once you're in that situation. So the days are just as long as if you're playing, and you gotta keep your body ready to go right back in it mid-season. So it's definitely a different mindset when you got to start and stop and go get at bats and come back and try to be ready. But if that's the cards you're dealt with, you got to get it done. That's the thing.
You've already talked about how you made some changes in your off-season training regimen. What, as you now look back at what you did over the winter, has been probably the most important thing you did to keep you healthy?
I'd say alter my running mechanics a little bit, alter my pregame warm-up, and mid-game. When you're playing the outfield, then DHing and back and forth, or I've been majority DH as of late, but those routines are different. So it's finding that the right ones to keep you on the field.
Giancarlo, I was talking early on about some of the young players that you have on your club and how important it is to watch veteran players and the routines that they go through day in and day out. Can you give us just an idea, maybe some of the things you do when you are DHing to keep yourself loose and in the game?
I got to be moving around. I got to keep my legs ready. Sometimes you may pop out or have a pop out and strike out the first 2 at-bats, so you're not running for an hour and a half into the game, So you got to make sure you're finding some way to move around, whether it's in the hallway or, I've liked even running on the track and on the field. It's a little odd, but, it's better to get it done than not. So just keep your core and legs warmed up and ready to go.
Giancarlo, you and the rest of your teammates are 5 days and 1,139 miles away from opening day, where there will be some fans in the stands. What do you envision that scene will be like in the Bronx?
It's going to be awesome. I mean, it's not going to be a normal opening day in the Bronx, but with the amount of fans that we will have, it's going to be much better than the season prior, and hopefully as the year goes on, we get more and more fans able to come see us and watch us win.
This is Bo Bichette batting, by the way, in the top of the 4th with 1 away. I wanted to ask you about that, Giancarlo, because last year when you guys played, it was a quiet stadium. There was nobody around. You could hear each other. You could hear the chatter. That probably now changes back, even though the season begins with about 20% capacity at Yankee Stadium. Does that mean you need to be a little more alert and on point, especially the fielders, the outfielders calling balls, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, even with 20%, I think it's going to be the same thing. You're going to be able to hear bubbles being popped and people doing things in the stands that kind of just gets lost in the mix when it's a full stadium. So. Yeah, you gotta be on high alert as always, and just act accordingly.
I'm glad Bob just brought up the outfield communication. With yourself, is there a plan to get into the outfield maybe during the first month of the season, or are we just going to let that play out and see how it goes?
Yeah, we're going to let it play out. I think I should be out there within the first month. If not, I'll be ready to go shortly after that. Everyone only played 60 games last year. There'll be people in the outfield and throughout the lineup needing breaks to kind of catch back up. So that'll be when I pop out there and get in the mix.
Giancarlo, after the season ended last year, Brian Cashman, the general manager, talked about your performance in the postseason, and he said, I felt as if he looked like he was going to hit a home run every time he was at the plate. How can you take what you did in those postseason and carry it into the regular season?
Learn, rewatch, understand my thoughts during that time, and take my approach, take my cues from that, and bring it into a full season and keep it rolling. That's all you can do.
Have you ever looked back at video and said, "Oh, you picked something out like that"? Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, well, sometimes I write down what I'm thinking or things that come into my head. But a lot of the times, what I do is when I watch film, I can just when I look myself in the when I can see my face, I know what my thought process is. If that makes any sense. If I can relive that at bat once I see it and see see me in there.
Giancarlo, you're paid to play baseball. We're paid to analyze it. But I wonder if you could be an analyst for us for 30 seconds here. As you've moved through spring training, is there a teammate who you've watched him perform and you've said to yourself, I can't wait until people see this guy in 2021 because this player is ready to break out?
Let's see. I feel like most players on our team, everyone knows what they can do. So it's a matter of putting it together through the full season. But if I were to say a breakout, I'd like to see Frazier in a full year and watch him put together some at-bats and time in the outfield and show that he's going to be a staple for a long time.
Giancarlo, as always, appreciate the time. And as we leave player updates, stat leaderboards, and more for your New York Yankees and the rest of the league. Great to have you back with us here as we head to the bottom half of the fourth inning. Back to the top of the lineup for Tyler Wade on the Montefiore scoreboard. Yankees leading it 2-0. Powered in part by Gleyber Torres in his 5th home run of the spring. This is the left-hander Kirby Snead on for the Blue Jays. Wade is grounded back to the pitcher on that leadoff bunt attempt in the bottom of the 1st and then flown out to center field. That's what Snead did 2 seasons ago. Got in 50 games at the AA and AAA level. And Wade draws a leadoff walk. So here's the question. We know he's a stolen base threat. You're working on things in spring training. Would you, Flash, expect him to be looking to run here?
Yeah, I think it's probably all about how he's feeling right now physically, right? We go back to his first at bat where he stumbled over the bag a little bit, first base, but seems like he's fine. I always liked guys working on their game in spring training. If you're a guy who steals bases, you got to get out there and have some attempts and have some success. And you see the numbers during his major league career, 13 for 15. So it's kind of like Aaron Judge hitting a long home run the other day. You're Tyler Wade. You want to steal that bag and have some positive thoughts going into opening day.
And creates another RBI opportunity for Gleyber Torres. Gleyber, by the way, has doubled and homered in this game. And you take one more look at that stolen base.
You're a savant, Bob. You're a Nostradamus. Not even a throw by Kirk there. Snead gave him a cursory look, and Wade stole that easily.
Gleyber almost squared that one up as well. And by the way, we talked earlier, Gleyber kind of getting to know DJ LeMahieu better and soaking stuff up. He seemed to be doing, Flash, the same with Giancarlo Stanton, right?
Yeah,
he was talking.
It's the best part of spring training, Bob, right? Because the players are relaxed. There's not that pressure that, winning and performing at the highest level. You work on your game, and you just have a relaxed attitude, enjoy your teammates, and get ready to go. But a very encouraging 0-2 swing by Gleyber there to put that good of a swing on an 0-2 pitch. You think back to Gleyber's year last year, we were talking about how, like, at the plate, he just didn't seem like he was 100%. There's Gleyber having a good time. I would, too, if I had a double home run. And looks like another long one here for Gleyber.
Drops the hammer off the scoreboard in left field. Gleyber Torres is 3 for 3 on the afternoon, a double, 2 home runs, and the Yankees have a 4-0 lead.
Boy, you just had a feeling this at-bat was going to end up the right way for Gleyber Torres. Even when he was behind 0-2, he had such a good swing at an 0-2 pitch and fouled it off. It just told you he was seeing the ball well off of Snead, and a no-doubter here.
He didn't slam the bat on that one, Flash. Slammed the bat on the last one. Absolutely knew this one was gone. Hitting it right above the Blue Jays on the scoreboard. And I'm not just saying this because he has 2 home runs today. The last time the 3 of us did a game, one more look at that swing, the extension, keeps the hands back, and man, that's a thing of beauty for the Yankees. If you watch Gleyber Torres, but I feel like last year on a 60-game season, as Urshela taps this one to short, Bichette makes the play. So many people gave up on Gleyber Torres and forgot how talented he is. Did he struggle last season? Yes. Did he have trouble defensively? Yes. Did his own general manager talk about him not being in the best shape? Yes. But do not sleep on Gleyber Torres as a perennial all-star and MVP candidate. He gets the defense where he needs it to be. The offense is potent.
And it's a fair conversation now from what we've seen to say that he could every year be a 40 home run threat at the shortstop position.
There are projections that are done called ZiPS projections, and before 2020 they had Torres as a guy who could hit 40+ home runs over the next 3, 4, 5 years. So you're absolutely right, Bob, and if you can get that kind of offensive power production from a middle infield spot, your team is winning that mano-a-mano matchup against the other team's shortstop most of the time.
You know, guys, we were talking before about Clint Frazier and how he said, you know, it's easier to get to the big leagues. It's tougher to stay. And I think for a guy like Gleyber, who is going to have a very long, productive career, but you're going to have some bumps along the way. And last year was one of those bumps that you were talking about, Jack. But the biggest factor is how do you respond? How do you come back? Do you make adjustments to your off-season training? Do you make adjustments to what pitchers are trying to do to you? Those are the guys who hang around the big leagues for a long time.
Swing and a miss for out number 2. And I've applied that to Gary Sanchez as well. How does he respond? How does he answer to the call? The last season is going to speak volumes about where his career arc can go after that.
Absolutely. And Jack, you were talking before about pitch recognition with Florial, right? Lay off those tough pitches out of the strike zone. And immediately I thought Gary Sanchez. That's the biggest difference from him last year, maybe even the year before then when he first broke on the scene, is extending out of the strike zone and the plate discipline. So there's a challenge for Gary this year like no other player on this team. He played well right out of the gates in spring training and has struggled since. He's going to have to go out there and have a good start because there's going to be a lot of comments and questions if he doesn't get off to a good start.
0-1 pitch to Mike Ford.
Yeah, the one thing I think, Flash, is having had numerous conversations with you or Paul O'Neill or David Cohn, so often Cohn would say that when he was pitching, the one thing he wishes when he looked back at his career is he gave the hitter too much credit. Paul O'Neill says, I gave the pitcher too much credit. I think that happens with Gary Sanchez sometimes. He's so talented that he almost becomes his own worst enemy sometimes, going after pitches and chasing things out of the zone that he's too good a hitter to allow that to happen. But it happened over and over again in 2020. Struggled with the fastball. He definitely is the one player who more than any player on the Yankees needs to get off to a strong start.
Mike Ford did a nice job there laying off that breaking ball to even the count at 2-2. Fouls that one behind the plate. Kirk gives it a look and nothing more.
Bob, this one obviously doesn't count, but since 2018, Gleyber Torres has 10 multi-homer games. That's tied for 5th in Major League Baseball.
And Mike Ford, hot shot off the pitcher Snead. His 3rd base hit of the afternoon, all coming against lefties.
Bob, you mentioned the pitch before, how he laid off a tough breaking ball just off the plate. And because of that, he was able to get another pitch to hit, and for the 3rd straight time, right on the barrel of the bat and right back up the middle for Mike Ford.
New pitcher coming up for the Blue Jays. We'll see you right back here on Yes after this. We're back in the bottom half of the 4th inning. New pitcher in for the Blue Jays. It's A.J. Cole. Kirby Snead preceded him, gave up a couple runs this inning. 2-run home run to Gleyber Torres, his 2nd homer of the game. So Cole comes into the game with a man on first and 2 away, facing Kyle Higashioka. First pitch swinging on a fastball, fouls it straight away. Well, we know Higashioka got regular reps late season, postseason. Flash. Does his mindset change at all, though, even though he's going back to be more of a backup catcher in a full 162?
I hope not. You know, his mindset every day should be the same. Prepare like you're going to play that game, and if you're not a starter, be ready to go later on, which Kyle has done such a good job in his career. Last year, you mentioned he got a lot more opportunities. And again, we talked about if Gary Sanchez gets off to a slow start, we're going to be hearing those conversations again. We're probably going to be in the studio talking about the possibility of Higashioka starting more. So we'll see how it plays out. But to your point or your question, I hope Kyle is just keeping his focus the same as it has been. Get ready to play that night.
1-1 pitch, little chopper, and Alejandro Kirk on a first, 1 away, or 3 away, excuse me. That is the end of the bottom of the 4th inning. But when you want to get things going for the regular season, you want to find your peace, your happy space. And Gleyber Torres has today his 2nd home run. That was number 1. Number 2 off the scoreboard. Put the Yanks up 4-0. Top of the 5th, Aaron. It has been a Jurassic afternoon, if you will, for Gleyber Torres so far. A double, couple home runs. Gotta love where he's at right now.
Yeah, he's feel like he's had a really productive spring. You know, came in a really good place physically. You know, has with a lot of these guys, it's been really nice having them have a normal progression. I feel like they've built kind of their stamina because they were able to start really in the first couple of games of spring training, and I feel like they're very much ready to go. And Gleyber's certainly one of the headliners there.
Hey, Aaron, I was talking during the early part of this game how there are certain hitters or even pitchers who are locked in at this point and just want to get to opening day. Obviously, Gleyber having a big day today. Will you go to your hitters and say, hey, how many more at-bats do you need? How do you feel? Or they just stay on their regular schedule and get ready for opening day?
Yeah, you know, I talk to them all the time, you know, and whether it's, you know, through Mendy or Marcus or, you know, I try to have that kind of communication with them all the time. And, you know, we really try and stay out ahead, you know, as best we can 3, 4, and 5 days and kind of let them know what I'm thinking. Like, for example, I'm not going to have Judge and Stanton go on the trip tomorrow because I feel like they have been built up. They've played that 3 in a row. You're able to get so much good work in on the days you're not playing in games, so it's a little bit indifferent. The big thing for me is, as best we can and when we can, making sure that they've gone deep in games, that they've gone back to back, that they've been out there and kind of building that game stamina that you got to have, especially when you get up in the cold weather and all of a sudden, you know, you get into the season and now all of a sudden you're playing 4, 5, and 6 days in a row of 9 innings, which you haven't really done. So building that kind of stamina is the biggest thing for me and why I like to have these guys out here as much as possible.
Aaron, the Yankees announcing today that Luke Voit will need knee surgery for a meniscus tear. How challenging is it for you to move forward without Voit, and also what's the timetable on his return?
Well, obviously Luke's one of our guys, one of our impact players, so we'll certainly miss him while he's down. It was one of those situations where, you know, this is probably later in the season, you probably go a different route. I think for Luke, just having that occasional swelling in there that he was getting and being where we are as we get ready to start on 162 games, it's like, if we can go knock this out now, get out ahead of this, put it behind us, because it isn't something that should keep him down too long. The consensus is, and again, we'll have the surgery and see where we are in the days after it and stuff, but it's probably no baseball activities for 3 weeks and then should be able to roll through from there. So whatever the timeline ends up being.
And that's a base hit to left field for Lourdes Gurriel Jr. off Lucas Luetke. It'll end up being a double.
we don't think it's going to be too long. Do feel like he'll be back at some point in May. But let's get through the surgery. We'll see where he's at in the early days and how the healing and recovery is going. But do feel like he's going to be with us the bulk of the season.
One of the hallmarks of these Yankees teams under your leadership has been next man up when a guy goes down. And you've gotten to know Jay Bruce a little bit so far, but obviously this is his first season with the team. Now he's going to be thrust probably into that starting first base position. How do you feel as you view him that he can be one of those next man up guys?
Yeah, I'm excited about him. Obviously Jay's had a really, really good career. And I think to varying degrees has, dealt with some nagging things the last couple of years that have probably suppressed some of the numbers that we're normally accustomed to seeing with him. But I still feel very much like that high-end player still exists in there. And, I've worked him a lot at first base over these last couple of weeks, wanting him to get as many reps over there. He moves naturally over there. Like it's a position if he played every day and over the years, he'd probably be really, really good at it. I think now the biggest thing for him is just getting that regular experience over there. So he's definitely going to play a lot for us over there. I feel like he's ready for that. He's been a natural fit in our room. I think he's going to contribute. To what I think is a special part of our club is the room and the conversations and our hitters room and things like that. He's fit in well to that, and I'm excited to have him be a part of this.
Aaron, keeping it with some of the injuries, unfortunately you got a couple of left-handers down in your bullpen, Zach Britton and Justin Wilson, but this lefty Lutke has opened some eyes. Tell me what you've seen from him making a bid to make your team.
He's been really good. I mean, he's been a guy that's been on our radar the last couple of years. He's got a little bit of a analytics darling with that right there, a really high spin breaking ball, and we've seen it manifest itself really all spring. He's generated a lot of swings and misses with it. His fastball, even though it's not overpowering, plays at the top of the zone. And he's come in here and really done a good job of throwing strikes and, every step of the way impressing us and really putting himself in the conversation to, be a part of our club.
Aaron, you're 5 days away from giving the baseball to Garrett Cole for opening day. He pitched last night and couldn't have sounded more pleased. He talked about he loved the tilt on his pitches. He thought he was on the mound with his full arsenal. How reassuring as a manager is it to hear that and see that?
Yeah, I feel like his last two starts, that full arsenal has really been there. He's been pretty good all spring long. He's been pretty good all spring long. I feel like the stuff's been there, the progression's been there, the work, it's gone kind of smoothly. And I really feel like in his last two starts, the one prior to last night, I feel like he was mid-upper 70s on a pitch count and really dynamic. It was over in Dunedin against the Blue Jays, and I felt like it was the first time he really had his full arsenal kind of clicking in the same day, where he had really good life to the fastball, shape to the slider and curveball, and a good changeup. And the same I really felt true last night. He was dynamic. The stuff was excellent. I've really liked his changeup all spring long. It's a pitch he's gone to, and it's been more than playable. But feel like and getting to 86 pitches last night, he should be ready to roll and on opening day. And I know he's excited to take the mound, and we're excited to do it and see him in front of some fans in the Bronx. That's going to be a lot of fun.
2 away, top of the 5th. Joe Panik at the plate. Real quickly, backing him up from what you've seen from Kluber and Tyone so far. You were excited about getting them. How much more excited are you that they've looked so good?
Yeah, it's our starters have really looked the part, and that's been an exciting part of spring. Look, we got a long way to go, and but so far, it's gone pretty much according to plan, and feel like all those guys are in a really good spot.
As always, Aaron, great to see you. Thanks for the time.
All right, guys. See you soon. Thank you.
We will step aside as we head to the bottom half of the 5th inning. Yanks on top 4-0 in Tampa. And by by Cadillac. Visit your tri-state Cadillac dealer and experience the ultimate in iconic luxury. Back once again here on Yes and on the new Yes app. Bottom of the 5th inning with the Yankees holding a 4-0 lead. And the DH, Chris Gittens, is the hitter. Gittens has been on base a couple times via walks. 4-0 on the Audi scoreboard.
Bob Flash asked Aaron Boone about Lucas Litke, and he has really been a revelation this spring. A guy who hasn't pitched in the major league since 2015. The Yankees have liked him for a couple of years, though.
Gittens lifting one out to center. One away.
And you look at his career going back to Litke for a second. He breaks in with the Seattle Mariners 2012. He's 25 years old. 63 games. You see Bearclaw up in the bullpen for the Yankees. 2013, he's 26. He pitches 35 more games. Since then, since 2014, 13 games in the major leagues over the next 7 seasons, and he's still trying to get back there. And with the pitches that he's shown this spring, and with the openings that are in the bullpen, Britton had the bone chips removed, and we don't know about Wilson's status yet. Litke is a guy who could help.
Little square to bunt there for Estevan Florial, who, as you saw, has been on base a couple times with 2 singles, and he's knocked in a run.
Non-roster, minor league contract, right? You get to this point in spring training, and we talked about this before, you know, sometimes there are moves that are made at the end of spring training strictly on who has an option, who can be sent to the minor leagues. If somebody on a minor league contract, we got to make a move to get him on a major league contract. But he's definitely shown that he probably will deserve a spot in this bullpen as a left-hander.
You know, this has been a topic of conversation for the Yankees the past few years. They've always had those power right-hand arms out there, and maybe lacking a lefty outside of Zach Britton, to which Aaron Boone was asked, does it matter? Do you need to have a lefty? And he said no, because our guy right-handers, it plays to get left-handers out, that sort of thing. But could it help this Yankees team to sort of break that up, Flash, and throw that lefty in there and maybe give Litke a chance, at least in the short term, while we wait for Wilson and Britton?
Yeah, I've always liked to have bullpens where you have a lot of diversity, a lot of different looks. You know, you have power righties, you have maybe some lefties that have some different arm angles and are a little funky. You know, I just think that that's what over a long season will give Aaron Boone the ability to mix and match and play some matchups, obviously with numbers, but with also different deliveries that can give an opposing lineup a tough time.
And Florial lifting one out to center field. Grichuk will put it away, 2 away. And this Yankees presentation brought to you by Ford. You can visit buyfordnow.com for more information on how to get a great Ford vehicle.
Oh, we were showing that Ford sign for Mike Ford, who's 3 for 3 with 3 line drives against some left-handed pitching. Having a nice day.
You know, going back to Litke, guys, 10 1/3 innings this spring. He's got 18 strikeouts. And Flash is right. Roster decisions and who has options and how do you get a guy onto a roster, that all factors into this. But when you put up those kind of numbers, that's impossible to ignore. That's a guy who is forcing his way onto a roster.
Greg Allen smashes one into the shift. Bichette's up with the Yankees leading at 4-0, powered in large part by 2 Gleyber Torres home runs. His 4th and 5th of the spring. 4-0 on the Montefiore scoreboard. 9 hits for the Yankees, just 1 for Toronto. By the way, the Blue Jays just announcing that their starter today, Anthony Kay, left the game with a lower right leg contusion from that Estevan Florial comebacker. New pitcher for the Yanks here in the top of the 6th is Kyle Bearclaw.
Didn't pitch in the majors last year, Bob. You see his numbers in 2019. He gets swings and misses. He gets a lot of strikeouts. In his career, averages 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. Also does walk a lot of batters. Once was the closer for the Miami Marlins. Four-seamer, slider, changeup, and sometimes will throw a cutter. Yankees are winding down their spring training schedule, so as we've mentioned a couple of times, you're not seeing any of their really elite arms today. Litke, a guy who could make the roster.
And I liked how Boone referred to him, I think, an analytics darling because of the spin rate on that curveball. Gets a lot of strikeouts with it. Espinal driving one out to center field. Florial is there for the first out here in the 6th. Well, great news, Yankees fans. The 2021 regular season is almost here, and New York Yankees individual game suites are available. To get all the information about availability and to purchase your 2021 Yankees individual game suites, visit yankees.com/suites today. Back to the top of the lineup for the Blue Jays here in the 6th, Jonathan Davis. Davis is 0 for 2. Ground out to third and a strikeout swinging. We've seen that a couple times today, Flash. Davis does not get cheated on that swing.
Yeah, he's one of those leadoff guys who goes up there swinging the bat and trying to do some damage. Yankee pitching really has been outstanding this afternoon. A lot of strikes, pitching ahead in the count.
Davis, by the way, getting the start in right field today. Grichuk is in center, and that's a little bit of a story in Toronto for the Blue Jays.
It is, Bob. George Springer obviously is their starting center fielder, working his way back from an oblique injury. Signed a $150 million free agent contract in the offseason, largest in Toronto history. But that alignment was interesting to Dan Shulman. He's one of the Blue Jays announcers. Obviously also does college basketball for ESPN. He wondered that with Grichuk in center and Davis in right, was that an indication that Springer won't be ready for opening day? Because normally it would be Springer in center, Grichuk in right. So we'll wait and see. Springer was scheduled to hit off a tee today. The one thing teams have to remind themselves of, and most of them are smart enough, opening day is great. All the pageantry and circumstance, pomps and circumstance, but you got 162 games to play. You want to make sure a guy like Springer is ready for the bulk of the games.
Davis to third, Urshela on to first, 2 away. Springer missing time right now, working his way back from a grade 2 oblique strain.
Yeah, and he'll be back at some point, but I think the injury that really hurts the Blue Jays, Tyler Yates, their closer, having Tommy John, he's out for the year now. And that was a big acquisition that is not going to be a part of this coming season. So we'll see if the Blue Jays can fill that void.
And here is Grichuk with 2 away. Strikeout and a pop out so far.
Look at Charlie Montoyo, the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, one of my favorite people in the game. And really earned that spot as a big league manager. He was great in player development and managing in the minor leagues with the Rays. All that young talent that came through there, paid his dues as a coach, and did a great job last year managing the Blue Jays to the postseason.
First time they reached the playoffs since 2016. Barraclough stuff looks good. He's ahead 0-2. And Flash, they have to love that young nucleus that developed Bichette, Guerrero, Biggio. No, they're going to be around for years to come, and then sprinkle in veterans like Springer.
Yeah, and that's why I thought Charlie was the perfect man for this job, because of the experience he has developing young players through the minor leagues.
Another 1-2-3 inning for Yankees pitchers. Of the 6 innings so far, 4 have been 3 up, 3 down. We'll take it to the bottom of the 6th with the Yanks up 4-0. How about MVP candidate James Harden, the way he's been playing?
Bob, you are talking to a former Nets beat writer. Way back in Derek Coleman's rookie year, when I was at the New York Times, I was a Nets beat writer. So I'm a baseball guy through and through, but this Nets team has been very exciting to watch, and I have absolutely been locked into those games and the pregame and the postgame coverage, and of course I'm using the app. Absolutely.
Harden's a joy to watch. He plays the game with a lot of love for the game, and he talks about that frequently. Bottom of the 6th inning, Yanks up 4-0. It's Tyler Wade as the lineup flips over to the top once again. Wade has walked in 3 at-bats, scored, stolen a base as well. New pitcher for the Blue Jays is Anthony Castro.
Castro, 25 years old. As you can see, he's tall and thin, 6'2", 182. He has pitched in 1 major league game in his career. It was last year with the Detroit Tigers, 1 inning.
Two-one pitch to Wade.
Bob, you called Wade's stolen base during his last at-bat. 2-2 count here against Castro. Putting you on the spot. Well, what's happening here?
He's going to try and bounce a breaking ball, and Wade's going to lay off it.
You're right on the.
He didn't bounce it. Nowhere near. What's he doing on the payoff pitch, Flash?
Got to go breaking ball again, doesn't he?
He did. And we have a new Nostradamus. Just took over, JC.
Job well done, and this is a good pitch.
Well, it's old philosophy in baseball. If you throw a breaking ball 2-2, you might as well throw it 3-2 if you miss, and it was a good one. Wade swings right over the top.
Now the hitters know that philosophy as well, right? So he's probably expecting something off speed there.
Yeah, but a lot of hitters will also gear up for a fastball in a 3-2 count, thinking it's more of an even count or even ahead in the count for them. But what we're seeing from Castro, he loves his slider. He's throwing it a lot.
Well, Gleyber Torres is out of the game now. Obviously enjoyed a terrific afternoon in his 3 at-bats, a double, and 2 home runs. So Velasquez takes over at short.
Guys, I wanted to ask you about one of the things that Boone said about Luke Voit. He said that if it was a different point in the season, that maybe the Yankees and Voit would have considered other options. Non-surgical options, I'm sure, and perhaps something that wouldn't have kept Voit out as long. But since it is the beginning of the season and we see another good pitch there, they decided to have it done now. Sound strategy? I think it is. The Yankees have a powerful offense. You want Luke Voit ready for when the games are most meaningful.
Well, I agree with you 100%, but you think back to last year with Luke Voit, right? He had the foot issues and he kept playing every day, and it just tells you what a tough competitor he is and how hard it is to get him out of the lineup.
Velasquez out to left field. That almost dropped in, but Gurriel Jr. there for out number 2.
So I guess my point is that this injury in this conversation probably was a tough one to get Luke Voit on board with, because he wanted to be out there for opening day.
Well, for Jay Bruce to say that he didn't get the call until this morning, and there is the injury report on Luke Voit, it obviously was, Flash. It was something that the decision was made today, and Luke Voit now tries to ready himself to have an impact later in the season, and Jay Bruce, who has more than 300 career home runs but was searching for a job this spring, now has one with a team that has championship aspirations.
Well, I think of it this way too. If it's a situation where it's a partial tear, he has a little bit of fluid buildup, they drain it, he goes back out there and plays. All it takes is one misstep at the bag, one quick dart to his right to try and get a ground ball at first base, and that could do more damage to the knee. So I think you guys are right. Take care of it now. and have him ready for a full 162, or most of it.
Well, Aaron Boone was talking about Jay Bruce and how he liked the way he was moving around first base during the spring, and he got a lot of work there, looked comfortable, and supposedly he's played first base since he was like 14 years old, so he'll get an opportunity, and you start dreaming or imagining, guys, what that swing's going to look like at Yankee Stadium for 81 games.
Gio Urshela lifts one out to right field. And it's Davis having some hard times picking that one up, so the ball drops, and Urshela will go all the way to third base. Urshela getting a break there. So he'll be on third base with 2 away. With regard to Jay Bruce, let's hear what he had to say about playing first base.
I feel like it's been good. I feel like there's a lot of things that I need to work on and want to continue to work on, but I'm confident that, I can play a very adequate first base, and, the more practice, I think I can be good over there. And, it sounds like I'm going to get a lot more of an opportunity to be there pretty exclusively, I guess for the foreseeable future here. And, I look forward to being able to focus on that, and there's a lot of work to do, but I'm looking forward to it.
So big different mindset now, Flash, knowing that his future until last night was up in the air, and he gets a call this morning, and he'll be starting opening day at first base for the Yanks.
Yeah, it's just an amazing time of the year because you think about Jay Bruce, right? In the last couple of days, he had no idea what his future looked like. And, of course, I'm sure he has a family, and they had no idea what their future was going to be. And now he's starting first baseman on opening day for the New York Yankees for a team that is planning on getting to the World Series. So it just changes so quickly. But like anything else, there's an opportunity that has presented itself to him, and he's got to go out there and take advantage of it.
Started 2 games at first base for the Phillies last year. In a 13-year Major League career, he has started 50 games at first base.
Oh, for Frazier, an unproductive afternoon. That's his second strikeout. He's gone 0 for 4 so far, but the Yanks have a big lead in Tampa as we head to the 7th with a 4-0 lead. Again, powered by a terrific afternoon at the plate from Gleyber Torres with a double and 2 home runs. And the new Yankees pitcher is Albert Abreu. Last August made his Major League debut for the Yanks at Tampa Bay. Got in just a couple games. And a tough first hitter he'll have to face in Bo Bichette. Yankees have done a good job. Their pitching of not extending innings. Again, of the 6 innings so far, 4 have been of the 1-2-3 variety. So this is just Bichette's 3rd at bat of the afternoon. And takes a breaking ball out to right. Nice job of tracking right there by Greg Allen. 1 away.
Bo Bichette, just an exciting young hitter who lets it fly and has the ability to drive the ball to all parts of the park. But a great jump and a nice little leaping catch right on the warning track. 1 down.
That brings up Teoscar. No, it is not Teoscar Hernandez.
Chris Beck.
Chris Beck. Abreu quickly ahead 0-2.
Bob, I'm glad you mentioned how well the Yankee pitchers have thrown the baseball today. I mean, that'll make Aaron Boone, the manager, happy. Matt Blake, the pitching coach. And it just seems like pitchers are ahead in the count, throwing strikes as Lyons getting his gun hot in the bullpen. And this is exactly what you want to see from your staff coming down the stretch. Ability to get ahead in counts, put hitters away.
Good little breaking ball, got Beck off balance there. Ground ball, 2 away. Well, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the New York Yankees and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of the New York Yankees. Abreu has looked good getting 2 outs here, Jack. Had a little taste of the majors last year. What does that mean for him going into 2021?
He's got a big arm, and the Yankees have talked about his potential, Bob, and I just think anytime you get to the major league level and you get that little taste of it, you've got to figure out a way to be consistent so that you can get there and stay there. We mentioned Litke earlier. Do you think Litke, when he was 25, 26 years old and he's pitching in 50 or 60 games a year, think that he's going to go on the journey that he did? So I think for Abreu, it's about that consistency and getting back and proving to the Yankees that he can be an asset in their bullpen.
Facing Rowdy Tellez, who's grounded back to the pitcher and struck out swinging. We should mention once again, as we're in the top of the 7th, that today's ball game, by agreement between both teams, is scheduled for 8 innings. Tellez grounding that one foul to even the count at 2-2.
Abreu was acquired from Houston in the Brian McCann trade, and he's been one of those Yankee prospects that you've heard about for a few years now.
Good breaking ball there, and another 1-2-3 inning for Yankees pitching. We're going to stay right here, honor our country with the playing of God Bless America. Yankees leading 4-0 here in the middle of the 7th.
All the men and women of our armed forces. Please direct your attention to the video board in left field and welcome Senior Airman Antonell McBride of the United States Air Force, who is currently a Special Actions Technician at the 6th Squadron MacDill Air Force Base. Senior Airman McBride is currently deployed to Brooklyn, New York in support of FEMA's COVID-19 vaccine distribution. The Yankees say thank you to her and to all of our brave men and women for the sacrifices and service they make each day for our nation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask you to rise and remove your caps for the playing of God Bless America.
p.m. right here on Yes. Sounds like Kay LaGreca. Oh, my goodness. Mike Ford. Goodbye. That one's gone. 5-0. Ford's out on afternoon. That's his 4th hit of the day. So clearly you mentioned the name Michael Kay, and good things happen for the Yanks, right?
I was going to say that Michael Kay usually gives the home run calls. He was in that home run call.
What a day for Mike Ford, though. You get sent down to the minor leagues, you get called back up for this game, and he goes 4 for 4 with 3 line drives against the left-handed pitcher, and then another lefty comes in and he hits a rocket out to right field. What a day for Mike Ford.
So, Bob Flash, if I was still a newspaper man, my column today would be Mike Ford. On the day that Jay Bruce becomes the Yankee starting first baseman, here's Mike Ford, a guy who at the start of spring training was ahead of Jay Bruce on that depth chart, comes out and has a 4 for 4 day. I would love to know what is going on in Mike Ford's mind. That's a story right there, and terrific day for him, and he'll impact the Yankees at some point this year.
Well, reminding the Yanks today that he will be ready if and when they need him. Tearing the cover off the ball. Travis Bergen is the new pitcher. Gets a fly ball off the bat of Higashioka for out number 1. And here is Socrates Brito taking over for Chris Gittens as a DH. Flares one out into left field. Base hit for Brito. Yankees' 12th hit of the afternoon.
You know, guys, I just keep thinking about Mike Ford and how disappointing it must have been to get the news that he was being sent down after being such a big part of this club the last couple of years. But, you know, I've seen players who have been sent down to the minor leagues and they pout and they'll complain that they didn't get an opportunity and it's not fair. And the next thing you know, they miss a month of productive baseball. Mike Ford's not going to be that guy. We know what his path has been.
Florial to first, and they get the force out at second. So just like that, 3 away. One more look, splash at that Ford home run.
Yeah, he's having a big day today, but we know he's going to go down to the minor league, swing the bat. He'll be back.
Yanks up 5-0 as we head to the 8th. On the Yes app. Feature on Gene Afterman, the Yankees senior vice president and assistant GM, her impact on the game. You saw the plane there. Ian's in a hosting role now. You have to know how to take off and land the plane as a host. That's what you need to do, and he does that well. As we continue here, top half of the 8th inning, Tyler Lyons is the pitcher for the Yanks. Yankees leading at 5-0, powered by homers from 2 from Gleyber Torres, 1 from Mike Ford. It's been a good afternoon for the Yankees. Sadly, we're missing one of the biggest baseball fans that we know, and that's Jack's mother-in-law, Joyce Orban.
Right, Bob, a sad week for my family. My mother-in-law passed away. We had her funeral yesterday. She was smart, dynamic, loving, and as you said, she loved baseball. One of my last conversations with her through my wife Pamela was about all of the rule changes that were incorporated into minor league baseball for 2021. And yes, she did have an opinion on infield defensive shifts. So I will miss her greatly, and I mourn with my father-in-law Jack and my sister-in-law Tracy, and obviously my wife Pamela. She was 88. She told her daughters and her husband, I have no regrets. So that's the life that you celebrate.
And we do that as well, as we consider the Orbines part of the Yes family. Much love to the Orbines. Leadoff double there off Tyler Lyons here in the 8th.
Jack, I didn't know your mother-in-law well, but we had one of the funnest nights, I think, as the 3 of us had dinner one night, right? And then all of a sudden you talked to us, Bob and myself, and your wives to go sing Christmas carols at her house that night.
We rang my in-laws' doorbell, did not let them know we were coming. We had Santa Claus hats on,
Yep.
which we purchased at CVS minutes earlier.
Yep.
And we did sing Christmas carols. And my mother-in-law was so cool that she joined in, I think, and probably had one of the better voices. So, yes, that was a fun night.
That was a fun night.
And they totally appreciated that you guys were visiting them as little Christmas carolers.
This is Forrest Wall, or excuse me, McGuire. It's Reese McGuire batting for the Blue Jays. Forrest Wall is on second base. Lyons is a guy who's been able to impact the Yankees in major league games before. I guess at this point, after the leadoff double flash, you're just looking for him to bounce back, get some quick outs, not extend counts.
Yeah, we've been talking about the Yankee pitchers this afternoon really getting ahead and working, throwing the strikes and getting ahead in the count. Lyons had a little trouble that opening at bat, get falling behind and maybe just a little late with his breaking ball, not getting his hand out in front. That's a little bit better.
He throws a lot of those sliders. Last year, about a third of the time. Four-seam fastball only at about 88. He wants you to chase that slider. He wants to get swings and misses with that pitch. You see Nelson Cortez Jr. up in the bullpen for the Yankees.
And McGuire able to stay alive.
Again, we've been talking about hitters and trying to get locked in at the plate. Same thing for pitchers, and a guy like Lyons, who's come out of the bullpen, maybe hasn't had great command of his slider. The last one a little bit better, getting it out front a little bit more. See if we can come up with a good one here to put away the lefty McGuire.
Well, McGuire gets a piece of one out to right center field. But Greg Allen will come up with it. And the runner will tag and move to third. So one away with a man on third.
Bullpen question for you guys. When the Yankees start the season, Zach Britton will be on the IL because he had the elbow surgery. Aroldis Chapman will be serving a suspension. He misses the first 2 games of the season. If you're Aaron Boone in game 1 against these Blue Jays and you have a save situation, who's your closer?
Chad Green.
I agree.
I'll give you guys an A. I think that would be my guess as well. You're hoping, if you're the Yankees, on day 1 that Cole's going to take you deep, but yeah, you probably have Chad Green locked and loaded at the end.
Joe Panik is the batter. A walk and a ground ball to short.
Had a couple conversations with Buck Showalter guys, and I'm very intrigued to see Darren O'Day come out of a bullpen on a team that we cover on a daily basis because of what Flash talked about earlier. I just think the different looks and when he comes in, his ability to just befuddle hitters, especially righties. I just think that's going to be really interesting to cover and to watch.
You know, guys, we've been going to Tampa for spring training for so many years, and it seems like every time we go there, a little ground ball to second base will drive in the first run for the Blue Jays. But the bullpen and who's going to be factors out of the bullpen always seem to be the big conversation in spring training. Who's going to surprise the Yankees and make the club? And this year's no different, Jack. You're talking about people who are hurt, people who are going to be serving suspensions, and again, there's opportunities for other players and arms out of the bullpen to make an impression early on to try to stick around. Nick Nelson, what's he going to look like in that bullpen?
2 away here as Tyler Lyons works on Santiago Espinal. 0 for 2 on the afternoon.
Aaron Boone loves Nick Nelson, especially that changeup, that fastball changeup combo, and you can see why he's so impressed. And Nelson could be a really important weapon for the Yankees.
Well, I think another factor, Jack, is the way Nelson handled himself out on the mound last year, a big league mound for the first time. The body language exuded confidence, and I think you talk about the stuff, but then you also combine that with a young player who feels like he belongs. That's tough to turn away from.
Tyler Lyons trying to lock this thing down with the Yankees up 5-1, top of the 8th in this scheduled 8-inning game. And instead, Espinal keeps the ball game alive with a base hit to left. Richard Urania, who took over in right field for Jonathan Davis. And looks at strike 1.
I know we're down to the final out, Bob, but peeking ahead to opening day, Our pregame coverage starts at 11:30. I need to know what time you're rolling into the parking lot that day.
Oh, man, that'll be early because I'll be shot out of a cannon. I think all three of us will be, so, 8:30-ish, maybe.
I need to know right now because I need to plan my nutrition between now and then accordingly. Are you bringing me a chocolate donut?
Yes, I will bring you a double chocolate donut. Fuel you through the afternoon, and we're going to get Flash to stuff one down the gullet, too. Swing and a miss from Tyler Lyons, and that puts this ball game in the books. Terrific pitching from the Yanks this afternoon. Some mighty slugging from Gleyber Torres and Mike Ford, and the Yankees win this one against the Blue Jays by a final count of 5-1. We'll take a quick break here on Yes. Put a bow tie on this latest Yankee